If we'd gone in the same order as Cien did, Phantom would have come out 3 new banners ago. But things got shifted around quite a bit, so he hasn't come yet. That's not going to prevent me from talking about this mysterious gentleman, though. Just a couple of things before I start. One, I usually cover all the new operators from a banner in one video, but I'm talking about Phantom separately since I want to go into his lore because I find him quite intriguing. There's no way to really tell what banners are going to come next since things got a bit mixed up on Global. I'm assuming this new order is because they're actually waiting to release W on the 1-year anniversary, but I'm confused as to why they skipped over the past Illusion event. What I'm trying to get at is that when this event does get announced, I'm gonna correct this during editing if it's already been announced since I'm writing this script ahead of time. I'll still cover the operators that come with him in a new video, but this is separate since I really want to talk about him and I'm too impatient to wait until he actually comes out. The other thing is that someone else already made a video about this exact same thing. I thought of this idea before I even knew it existed and found out while searching for showcases of his skills, so I swear I'm not trying to copy it. Our video styles are vastly different and I'll be going more in depth about the skills like I usually do, but if you'd like to check out the original Phantom overview and lore video afterwards, I'll leave it linked in the description. Okay, now let's actually get started.
Phantom 闇夜にさまよう幽霊どんちょう裏の幻影教えてくれ君の敵の所在とその名を
Phantom is probably one of the most unique units in the entire game for one reason. He's a 2-in-1 operator, literally. With his talent, he can summon an exact clone of himself. What this means is that you're pretty much bringing 2 Phantoms into the battlefield as the clone has the same stats and abilities as him. The biggest difference is that the clone's redeployment time is 45 seconds instead of Phantom's 18, but if you just retreat then redeploy him, this is negated. Upon promoting him to E2, it says his clone has higher stats, but no matter how hard I searched, I couldn't really actually find what those were. Now his clone actually has less redeployment time, but as I said, if you just redeploy Phantom himself, this doesn't matter all too much. When you're using fast redeploy operators, it's usually for one of 2 reasons. 1. You need an operator to quickly tank an attack or 2, usually either to stall the enemy a bit or because said enemy's first attack is extremely powerful, or 2. You need some quick burst damage or a little bit of crowd control. Phantom provides both those things. His first skill is the more tanky one that's reminiscent of Gravel. As soon as he's deployed, for the first 10 seconds he has a 40% physical evasion and has a shield that absorbs any physical damage equal to 50% of his max HP. That would be 641 at E1 max, while compared to Gravel's, her similar skill absorbs 1992 damage. If you raise him to E230 and M3 this skill, it'll raise this effect to absorbing 1120, which is quite a bit better than what it was before. This also bumps his physical evasion up to 50%, so it's safe to assume every couple hits he'll be able to dodge one. The big difference between this skill and Gravel's is that hers deteriorates over the 10 seconds it lasts, and his remains the same the entire time. Plus, it can be used 2 times in a row because of his clone. But I'm definitely not saying that you have to M3 it. You probably have a Gravel already and she's fantastic at her job. Although if you prefer Phantom, go right ahead. Skill 2 is much more offensive in nature. He gains 9 layers of stackable attack buffs that each grant him an extra 16% attack, and with each attack that he does, one of those layers gets consumed. If you think of just 16%, it doesn't really sound like much, but because of the stacking, the first attack he deals with this skill is actually 144% of his base attack. The percentages, extra attack this would give him, and total attack for each layer should be up on screen right now. After the lowest one, he'll go back to attacking at 435. By E2ing him, without even leveling him up, and M3ing the skill, it grants him an extra layer and raises the buff to 20%, leading the numbers to be this. While this skill seems pretty straightforward, it can be used in a variety of different ways because of his clone. It could either be used on 2 different enemies on different parts of the map, or consecutively on 1 enemy. His talent makes this pretty flexible, and you can honestly do whatever you find best. Skill 3 is his nuker crowd control type skill, being fairly similar to Project Red's skill 2. When you deploy him, he immediately deals 240% physical damage to all the enemies within the 8 tiles surrounding him, and also pushes them away slightly. For the next 3 seconds, they'll either be slowed, bound, or stunned. Sadly, this is completely up to RNG, and while I'd always be hoping for a stun, the other possibilities aren't bad either. The biggest problem with this skill is that depending on if you deploy him like 1 tile away from the base, there's a possibility that an enemy might get pushed into it, which you really wouldn't want, so make sure not to place him there. What makes this skill better than it seems is, once again, his clone. If you just deploy Phantom, this skill would have an attack power of 1140 at E230, which is good for a quick bit of burst damage, especially considering that this can be done every 18 seconds, but if you have an extra 5 deployment points to spare, you can put his clone down on the tile right in front of him or something, and it'll deal the same effects again, as well as another 1140 attack, leading it to be 2280 in total. If RNG is on your side, there's even a possibility that you just stun some enemies for 6 seconds in total. M3ing this skill leads to this attack boost going up to 1425 or 2850 with his clone, as well as the additional effect lasting 4.5 seconds, which is a pretty long time. Phantom is a super versatile unit, both because of the variety between each of his skills and the fact that you can do so much more with him because of his clone. It's a shame that in-battle sprites don't change when your units are E2'd, because he looks like such a dapper gentleman in his art, and I wish I could have seen him like that in game.
この仮面の下では自分が誰であるかもわからない。
No one knows who Phantom truly is, not even himself. What is known is that he used to be a part of a troupe. They used to travel across the land, and they'd make a living through the earnings they'd get with their shows. He was a star, a man with a magnificent voice. Things didn't end well for this troupe. While performing in a small town, everything was destroyed by a wave of neuropathy. Anything the troupe had left behind is gone now, and it's highly unlikely anyone other than Phantom survived. The only remnant found was a damaged video file that was never fully restored, and the portion that was at least somewhat intact wasn't enough to help figure out what happened.
Stage death. Behind loop, song, and all begin.
It's unknown what the scene meant, and it had to be sealed off from any further investigating due to 3 of the investigators on the case receiving severe psychological disturbance after watching it. The voice heard in this footage is presumed to be Phantom's, as the neuropathy he's been infected with has given him a dangerous yet powerful ability. By vocalizing certain sounds, he's able to break the psyche of a living being, the damage he causes being extremely difficult to reverse, leading the affected person's life to never be the same. It's unknown why or even how he showed up at Rhodes Island, but in certain ways it was a blessing to him. Upon conducting various tests, Phantom's infection monitoring device was altered so it could suppress his symptoms, allowing him to communicate and live a normal life. Although that doesn't necessarily mean that he does. The circumstances under which he appeared are quite odd. No one really knows how he got there. The man suddenly appeared behind an individual without any warning or even signs that he had entered, terrifying the logistics personnel and leading them to strengthen the security system as a whole. It's possible that he was able to do this with his ability to manipulate shadows, this being how his clone is brought to life, although it's unknown if that's truly how he got in. The little information that's been revealed beyond the existence of his troupe is that for the past few years, he's been working as an independent assassin, this being part of the reason why he keeps such a low profile. With that being said, there are many employees who don't even believe he truly exists. Phantom seems just as real as a campfire story, and can you even blame them for thinking that way? For some, it's best to live in denial instead of being aware of who lurks in the shadows. Despite all this, Phantom doesn't actually travel alone. Along with him came a lady simply known as Miss Christine, mysterious and alluring as the night itself. She can often be found patrolling on her own. Although it may be tempting, you should never touch Miss Christine without her permission. Allow her to approach you on her own, and accept it when she leaves. You must treat her with respect and dignity as if she's a beautiful, noble woman, and always maintain a pleasant demeanor when around her. Phantom is a broken man who's still not sure if anything is real or if he's eternally trapped in a nightmare. For the sake of your sanity, he's never revealed his true voice, but if one day he chooses to do so, please be aware that you might never be the same again. And that was it for this one. As you can tell, I tried quite a few different things. Talking about lore is something I've always wanted to do as I find the Arknights universe quite interesting, but I have no idea what you guys think of it. And that leads me to a question. What kind of videos would you be interested in me making? Videos on new banners are a guarantee, but other than that, I'd like to know what you want. Whether it be overviews of a specific archetype of unit, lore about certain operators, anything really. I'm open to any and all suggestions, so please don't hold back. One last thing before I end the video. Last week I was thanking you for 600 subscribers, and only a week later I'm at over 700. You guys are absolutely insane, and I honestly can't express how grateful I am. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this but aren't subscribed, maybe consider doing so. We're a chill little community, so I'm sure you'll enjoy your stay. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day.